Hey guys, this is Camfrey15 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another movie review. And tonight or today, whatever, whenever you're watching this video, I am talking about the newest, I guess you can say, superhero movie because technically this movie is none in the MCU because it has no ties to it, and that is Venom 2 or Venom: Let There Be Carnage. One of the most, I guess you could say, highly anticipated films because this movie has been delayed like 2, 3 times. This movie should have came out a whole year ago, but hey, the virus happened and there's nothing we could do about it. But what it looked like, it seemed like it was going to be delayed back. It actually got pushed up to October 1st. As I'm making this recording, it is October 1st, and I just got done seeing the movie. So yeah, I'm gonna give my thoughts on the movie. So obviously, how I'm gonna split this movie review into is I'm gonna give my non-spoilers to start off, and then that's when we're gonna get into spoiler territory later in the video. So I'll give a warning and stuff like that when that happens. But let's get into the non-spoiler stuff. Venom 2. My thoughts on the film. Honestly, I liked Venom 2. Now, again, I feel like I have to see this movie again to see if I like it more than Venom 1. But I probably 9 out of 10 times I think I like this movie more than the first one. Now I did think there were some parts, like I would say said some parts early at the start and then some points in the middle where it kind of is a little bit slow. The pace is kind of slowed down and you're like, okay, there might be some things where you're like, okay, I'm not getting into this. But when you get to that final act of the film, which obviously you would know is Carnage versus Venom, that stuff is literally really good. And honestly, if you ask me, probably the best part of the film, and stuff like that. I thought Tom Hardy, again, I thought he did a pretty good job at playing Eddie Brock and as Venom and stuff like that. I thought it was really good. I like his interpretation of Eddie Brock, even though it's kind of not the Eddie Brock a lot of people want, which is kind of bad boy Eddie Brock, as well as the whole fact that people aren't, I guess you could say, people aren't really fans of this alliteration of Venom, even though technically he's like, this version of Venom is essentially an anti-hero. In other words, he's the lethal protector Venom, which he does more good than bad. Obviously, the one thing about this alliteration of Venom is very controversial because you have people that don't like this version, even though they're kind of being accurate to the comics from the standpoint is the lethal protector Venom. That does some bad stuff, but he's morally does, good things and stuff like that. And that turns off a lot of people. Obviously, with the fact that you're restricted to no Spider-Man in your universe, well, listen, it doesn't matter. Honestly, I like this Venom. I have no problems with this Venom. I don't mind Venom being an anti-hero type of character because technically that's what he is anyways, if you go to the comics, and stuff like that. So again, my whole thing with people not liking this version of Venom, honestly, it's kind of me to them, F you, kind of, because I'm like, I don't really care. You have your own opinion. If you don't like this Venom, more power to it. But I don't see how this Venom is that bad, like everybody says, or it's not the one. I think people just want to see it, the Venom they want to see. Personally, like I guess if the MCU handled this, maybe they give us that type of Venom. But hey, listen, you get what you get. You don't complain about it, and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy, he was probably, I would say, the best actor in this film. He knocked it out of the damn park. Like literally, he killed it. I loved everything about him in this film, and he really gave you that, oh, this guy is like legit. What if Cletus Cassidy was like a legit real dude? He gives that vibes like, oh yeah, this is a guy you probably don't want to fuck with, and stuff like that. So I definitely liked him in the film. Other than that, that's really kind of it for characters. Other than I guess you'd say Shriek and stuff like that. I thought that was the whole thing. Story wise, I thought the story of Venom: Let There Be Carnage was fine. I thought it was a fine story. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. It wasn't anything great. I thought the story was a solid enough story to get by. It's just, well, you build up the anticipation to get to Venom versus Carnage. That's kind of what this movie is about. Now, there's obviously, without getting into spoilers, there's more inner details that kind of goes into the backstory of Cletus Cassidy as who he is and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like, oh, it's just kind of that. It's like, I'm not trying to say there's not really a story, but it's like there's a story, but there's not really a main plot. It's just, oh, Venom's got to stop Carnage because, well, Carnage is going to go after him and stuff like that. Obviously, it's, and stuff like that. But, yeah, I thought the action was really good, really, really freaking good, especially in the Carnage versus Venom battle. Really fantastic stuff. Again, like I said, that final act is probably some of the best, stuff in the scene. And again, obviously, and some of the action scenes with Carnage in the film are pretty good. Now, obviously, the whole debatable topic is this movie wasn't rated R. How do they handle it? Yes. Do they turn away from some gory kills? Yes, they do, because it's a rated PG-13. Now, I personally think that has some hand to do with, obviously, maybe Disney with the whole rumors that, oh, Venom could be somehow tied to the MCU. Maybe they had a hand in this. I don't know. Personally, I wish this movie was a rated R movie, but who knows? Maybe what they do is when the DVD comes out, maybe they have a director's cut where, guess what? It's literally the director's cut is a rated R cut of Venom 2, where we see those gory kills. Because if we're going to get a director's cut where it's, oh, this is director's cut, this is actually a rated R, what it would have looked like in theaters if it was rated R, here you go. We have some added scenes in there where it shows Carnage going what we see in the comics, just killing people, and you see it on screen. So maybe they make a director's cut as the DVDs coming out, and maybe there is a PG-13 version, and then which is the regular Venom 2, and then you got a director's cut. If they do that, I'm getting the director's cut. I'm going to rewatch the movie and stuff like that. I advocated this movie to be rated R, but I thought the movie was good enough to be PG-13, to be honest. It wasn't bad. Do I wish they made it rated R? Because then it would have been, I wouldn't say better, but it would have been more intense. Yes, but sometimes there's nothing you can do. And then two, they want to get, obviously, I guess you can say, kids up in there, because let's be honest, this movie's rated R. You're not taking your 10-year-old kid who likes Spider-Man characters in to see this freaking film. Now, personally, I just wish Sony gave no Fs and said, screw the children. If you want to bring your children to a rated R movie, that's on your problem, parents. So, I wish they should have made it rated R. But other than that, that's all I kind of got to say about non-spoilerly stuff. Like, really, to be honest, I thought it was fine for what it was. Like I said, the pacing kind of gets slow a little bit in the first half of the film, and even in the middle parts of the film, where you're just kind of just sitting there. You're like, I'm waiting for something interesting to happen, and stuff like that. Now, again, like I said, I thought this movie was good. I like this movie. If you go see it and you don't end up liking this movie, then hey, more power to you. I personally like this movie, and stuff like that. So yeah, but what I would rank this movie, or what I would grade this movie, I would probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's not bad, nor is it not good, or not really, really good, or really, really great. I think it's just a solid, good movie. It's a nice, flick of a movie if you want to go to theaters and see it. Do I believe it built up into the hype from all the trailers and stuff we got? If I'm going to be honest, I don't think Venom 2 lived up to the hype, that obviously was given. I do think some of the hype moments were mostly, I will say this, I do believe Carnage lived up to the hype. Seeing finally live action Carnage in the flesh, I thought he lived up to the hype. But in the grand scheme of things, I thought this movie didn't really, I still thought, like I said, just because I said this movie didn't live up to the hype, the trailers gave it and everything, doesn't mean I didn't like this movie. I liked the movie. I just think coming out of the theater, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a solid film. I just didn't think it lived up to the hype that it was getting hyped about and stuff like that. And maybe that means maybe we set our expectations too high for this movie, and we should have knew what we were going to get from this movie. and stuff like that. But yeah. But that's kind of it for my non-spoiler stuff. So again, this is a spoiler warning. I'm gonna get into spoiler territory of the story. So if you have not seen Venom Let There Be Carnage, please click away and come back when you do go see the movie. So till then, guys, if this is it, see you guys in the next video and come back for my spoiler review of Venom Let There Be Carnage. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys in the spoilers discussion. Hey guys, back with the spoilers for Venom Let There Be Carnage. And yeah, now the movie starts off in the past, and I believe the year 1996, and we see a young Cletus Cassidy and a young Shriek, essentially, like, obviously we know from the comics they're an item and stuff like that. But the thing is, what happens is Shriek gets taken away because of her powers, and obviously Cletus Cassidy doesn't like that. So they're apart. She gets taken to this underground facility in Ravencroft, which essentially is the Arkham Asylum for the Spider-Man bad guys, and stuff like that, which we still haven't seen in the MCU, and stuff like that, which obviously we'll get into in the post-credit scene, and stuff like that. But yeah, so obviously the number one reason, the number one topic is the fact that, well, the police chief wants Eddie to find more information about wants to find more information about Cletus Cassidy and where he hid the dead bodies he killed and stuff like that. And obviously Eddie Brock's like, why do you want me to go in there? And police chief, I forgot his name, and he's like, well, he wants to talk to you and he's only going to talk to you. So obviously, in this film, Eddie goes to see Cletus like 2 times and stuff like that. And essentially the whole thing is Cletus is like, I'll tell you the information you want to know if you do this for me and stuff like that. So like one of the wording he essentially told to put out on the paper was just a message essentially to Shriek, say that he's okay and stuff like that, and everything. Now, throughout this movie, you see that Eddie and Carnage, boy, would that be crazy. Eddie and Venom, let's just say they're not really getting along in this. They don't get along in this film, and they kind of split apart for some time in this film because, well, obviously the whole debacle with the whole thing is that, well, Venom wants to eat humans, and Eddie's like, you can't eat humans. You got to eat what I give you because I'm in control of the body. I'm in control. This is my body, so you have to listen to the rules of the guideline. And Venom's obviously like, I don't want to. I want to eat freaking humans because obviously, that's what Venom feeds off of instead of just random earth food and stuff like that. Like we see that he don't like eating chickens and stuff like that. Now, again, I will agree. I kind of do wish they kind of made Venom eat some humans, but the reasoning why Eddie says they can't do that is because they're essentially kind of, I guess you can say I wouldn't say they're not really under house arrest. They just can't make sure they're not doing anything shady that looks like because of the events from the first movie. And that's how we also see how, throughout this movie, the police chief is like cracking down Eddie Brock and stuff like that, time in and time again. And stuff like that. Eventually what happens is, thanks to the help of Venom, because as they're leaving Cletus Cassidy for the first time after talking to him in the film, they look at the Cletus Cassidy's room, and Venom, essentially showing Eddie, like, guess what, here, I found the location where, he stacked his bodies, and that's what happens. Eddie Brock essentially says this is the location and stuff like that. I guess you can say he's a big reporter again. They're gonna because of this, they're gonna put Cletus Cassidy on death row, and they're gonna kill him and stuff like that. Now, in the meantime, Eddie gets a call from Anne, which we know is his ex-girlfriend, and essentially I guess you can say meet up at this restaurant, and that's when Anne essentially tells Eddie that she's getting married to her new fiance. I believe the guy's name is Dan. I forgot his name. And And, obviously Eddie's kind of just like, oh, wonderful. Now, because when she first called him, he thought like, oh, they probably broke up and this is my chance to move back in and maybe finally get it on and have some sort of weird Eddie and Anne with mixed in with Venom type of weird stuff going on and things like that. But okay, yeah. Yeah, but she's like, oh yeah, it's kind of an awkward scene because even Venom's kind of pissed off and stuff like that. And Anne just tells Venom, listen, please take care of Eddie now. Eddie, because of the whole news of this, he actually he thinks his life went to a living shit because, well, he lost his girlfriend and stuff like that. So he literally tries to kill himself because of it. But obviously, Venom literally is not letting that happen. He's like, listen, let's cope with this together. And this starts the whole kind of butting heads rivalry, the butting head friction between, Venom and Eddie from the standpoint that, well, Venom's like, listen, you need me more than anything in this world. You were a loser. You were nothing before I showed up and stuff like that. And, listen, Venom makes some good points. He's like, listen, you did it to yourself because, Eddie's kind of trying to make the point like, well, I never would have lost everything if it wasn't for you. But Venom's like, bitch, do you remember from the first movie? You're the one that started the whole Life Foundation crap, trying to get more deeper into the hole about what was going on there. And you're the one who ruined that whole scoop for yourself. You're the one that lost Anne and everything. If you just minded your own damn business, you would have probably still had her and stuff like that. So what happens is they end up getting into a fight. Venom eventually walks away from Brock. So you have the whole arc where in this movie where, the two, team splits up. And then by the time you get to the end of the film, it's a whole realization, they need each other more than anything else because they're made for each other. Yada, 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 same more, kind of thing. And that's what I meant in my non-spoiler review, kind of the middle portion of the film when they're apart from each other. Because that's supposed to be the part in the middle of the film where, that's when you like realize that, they need each other more than ever now, especially with the whole fact that during that time in the film, Cletus Cassidy was out roaming around with Carnage and stuff like that. Like I said in my non-spoiler review, the middle part of the film was kind of the part where I was kind of the most least interested in. It was kind of like the boring parts of the film that I didn't really care with. Especially like the whole Venom showing up at the party, just switching around from host to host, and stuff like that. So it's like, I wasn't really intrigued with that and stuff like that. So yeah, but anyways, the second time Eddie goes to see Cletus Cassidy, essentially we kind of get the more backstory to Cletus Cassidy. Like we find out, this dude killed his entire family. He like threw his fucking grandma down a set of stairs in his wheelchair. Like literally freaking electrocuted his mom by just throwing her hairdryer in the bathtub, and damn near killing his dog, and then eventually killed his dad. And it's like, what the hell? This dude's crazy since freaking childhood, man. This guy is like just insane and stuff like that. And obviously the thing is, he really never had a family other than Shriek, who's been the one person that actually he resented with and he cares about. And that's kind of when they gave Cletus Cassidy a little love angle there. Now, that's one of my detriments that I did not like in the film, is the fact that they gave Cletus Cassidy a love angle with the fact that he's so devoted to Shriek and how much he loves her and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, Cletus Cassidy gives no fucks. We know Cletus Cassidy in the comics, he has no sympathy because he's a serial killer. So, I'll talk more about how it's like I didn't like this character, especially when you get to the final part in the final battle, and stuff like that. So, yeah, but that happens, and so that eventually he eggs Eddie on, or eggs really Venom. Venom freaking I guess attacks Cletus, and then eventually Cletus gets a hold of Eddie's hand and bites him, and that's how we find out how he ingests the symbiote, and it turns into Carnage based off his blood. And then you can even see when Eddie's leaving, Cletus looks at the part of blood he, I guess, wiped off his cheek. You see it like resonating. He's like, what the hell is this, and everything. So obviously he's going on death row, and they're gonna give him the injections which is going to kill him essentially, and stuff like that, give him the death because he has the death penalty. Essentially, that's when we see Carnage resonate finally inside of Cletus. The scene, the jailbreak scene, was freaking crazy. It was insane. Like, my God, they again, like I said, Carnage. Even though they didn't fully show some of the more gory kills, it's like it was really cool to see Carnage in this film, regardless what this was rated. And it's like I said in my non-spoiler review, if they give this a director's cut, rated R director's cut, I'm buying it and I'm watching this movie, and I know it's going to be so good. It would be asinine to think that they would not make a director's cut, because I guarantee you Sony's going to hear the cries and the pleas from fans of this movie saying, can you give us a rated R cut, a director's cut that actually is like rated R and stuff like that? That would be nice. And definitely I guarantee you that's going to make Sony a lot of money. So I have a feeling that Andy Serkis, they cut out some scenes, like the rated R parts probably. And, when they make the director's cut, if that happens, maybe they put those scenes in, those added scenes in, and they actually show the brutal killings that we know Carnage do. And the one thing about Carnage that I did like that was comic book accurate was the fact that he had all the type of unique weapons based off what he can do, what Carnage can really do, like, the axe for the hands and the spears and stuff like that. The same thing how we know Carnage can form, dangerous weapons from his body and stuff like that. So every scene Carnage was in when he was just going on a path of destruction and just utterly killing was just great stuff. So what happens is he gets out. Obviously, the police chief tells Eddie, you probably want to lay low and everything. And at the same time, the police chief's like, do you know anything that he told you? And Eddie's obviously keeping it secret because he can't tell him, oh, well, I have a symbiote and stuff like that. And I think he has a symbiote. Eventually, Eddie finds out from the whole place where he thinks or Cletus is looking for, and that's his girlfriend. And we actually find out the police chief knows Shriek because at the start of the movie when they were taking Shriek, obviously, to Ravencroft, he's the person that shot her in the eye and did all this whole stuff and everything to her and everything. So he's kind of traumatized about that aspect and everything. So that was an interesting thing to see and stuff like that. So yeah, but eventually it gets to the freaking point in the film, Cletus frees Shriek. And you get this whole crazy scene as they're leaving Ravencroft, that whole thing there and stuff like that. Now, Shriek ends up using her powers to try to take out the helicopter that was flying over them, but it actually affects Carnage. And when Carnage retracts into Cletus, Cletus is literally telling Shriek, like, you can't do that. Fire and sound-based attacks hurt Carnage and everything. And quote-unquote Carnage says, if she does that again, I'm killing her. So it already established the whole thing that, well, Carnage is no mercy, and he's like, I don't care if she's your girlfriend. I'm going to kill her the next time we get the chance to do it. Anyways, their whole mission together was the fact that, well, Cletus, they kind of make like a 3-team wedding, which is the fact that Cletus wants to kill Eddie, Shriek wants to kill the police chief that did this to her, and Carnage wants to kill, well, the person who created him, Venom, in other words, his father, which in their fight, I do like to mention now, Carnage is like, oh, hello, father, it's time to die. Because, well, that's technically that's Venom's son, Carnage. So yeah. What ends up happening is Brock kind of, I guess you can say, kind of gets taken into custody because the police chief at this point is like, I can't trust you. You had to play some sort of hand in this. But we know Eddie didn't. So Eddie calls Anne to try to do this, and Anne goes to try to find Venom. Eventually, Anne, I guess you could say in a way, kind of seduces Venom to come back to Eddie in a way. We see, cool thing is we see She-Venom again. Again, it's not like they hinted at in the first movie that we were going to see She-Venom again. And we get She-Venom in this movie again. The only thing we don't get is the fact that we get the whole kissing scene like we did in the first movie. And it was funny because Venom kind of instigated Anne and Eddie to hug in front of Dan and stuff like that. And he's like watching and he's like, what the hell, man? And stuff like that. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Eventually, Brock apologizes to Venom, and that's when they get ready. Now, Dan and try to leave San Francisco, but eventually Shriek catches up with them, and Shriek captures not only Shriek captures the Ant and holds her hostage, as well as we see Cletus as the police chief driving up to Eddie Brock's house. Cletus Cassidy was just like, oh, hey, what's up? And then he captures him and stuff like that. So eventually it gets to the point where they go to this Churchill where it's the supposed wedding of Shriek and Cletus Cassidy and stuff like that, which is a red wedding, which is funny because it's like, oh, we're going to all kill the 3 people we hate the most and stuff like that. So I found that freaking hilarious and very funny. Essentially, you have Brock show up. You have Eddie show up with Venom. Carnage shows up, and I love the whole scene where Venom's like, oh, shit, that's a red one. I'm not going to fuck with him and stuff like that. But obviously, Eddie's like, okay, you can eat people. You can eat as many people as you want, just the bad ones, you know, if you come out. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. So you get the amazing fight between Venom and Carnage. And let me just say this. Talking about this fight is just too much for enough. You have to see this part. This was definitely the final act in the scene, the final battles, you know, was the best part of the film. This whole fight between Venom versus Carnage was legit and stuff like that. Now, we obviously know Carnage is stronger than Venom, but obviously Venom comes out on top. And that's why it's like, we really need to see a Venom and Spider-Man team-up movie against Carnage. I really need to see that in live action because that would be fucking dope. And when we get to post-credit scenes, they can very much do that and stuff like that. But what happens is, again, Shriek kind of gets morally involved in this fight, and it kind of pisses off Carnage to the point that he's actually trying to kill Shriek. But obviously, Cletus is like, no, you can't kill her. She's my everything. I love her and stuff like that. And Carnage is like, man, fuck her. I don't care. I'm killing her. And this is what I mean by the whole fact that they kind of humanized Cletus Cassidy from the standpoint he loves Shriek a little bit too much. And like I said, Cletus Cassidy in the comics, and I don't even read the freaking Marvel comics, but I just know Cletus Cassidy is a stone cold fucking killer. He has no sympathy. Honestly, you know, Cletus Cassidy, if anything in the film, they should have made it where Cletus Cassidy is like, you didn't listen to me. You know, you didn't listen to me, honey. I told you already, and I told you before, and now this, guess what? You're going to die because of it. And I would have liked it. I would have made it crazy. You know, Cletus is like, you know what, screw you. If you're going to be like that, you're just becoming a nuisance to me with your power. And, you know, him and Carnage kill off Shriek. Like, that would have been cool, but no, they don't do that. Eventually, what happens is Venom uses Shriek to his advantage. And hell, in this fight, they paid off like so many they have so many damn references and stuff like that. Obviously, the Bell stuff was a reference to Spider-Man 3 when Peter's trying to take off the symbiote costume and everything. They have an amazing Spider-Man reference when Venom's holding Anne, and it looks like, oh, are you going to get the scene where Venom is going to drop Anne and she's going to fall to her death and everything? But no, that doesn't happen. She's still alive at the end of the film. But we see Shriek end up dying because she essentially falls from like damn near 2-3 stories high. And then the one bell, the bell just falls on her as she's screaming. The bell just clamps, and I'm guessing she died. She probably died because of the bell, because of her vibrations, and it probably killed her because the sound was too much for her to take, probably. But we have it to where eventually, Venom takes down Carnage, and we have the whole thing where Carnage and Cletus split up. Eventually, Venom grabs a little remnant of Carnage trying to go back to Cletus, and Venom literally grabs Carnage, eats Carnage. Carnage done. Okay. Seems like Carnage is not going to be returning. And then they kill Cletus Cassidy. Venom literally says, screw this guy, and bites off Cletus Cassidy's head and kills him. I was actually shocked they killed Cletus Cassidy off. I thought they were not going to do that. I thought they were just going to have him be arrested, taken in, and stuff like that. I never thought in my wildest dreams that, they were going to kill Cletus Cassidy. Like I thought they were gonna go with the whole angle that, oh, guess what? They capture the Carnage symbiote into a good enough bottle where he can't break out, and then Cletus is taken back to prison and stuff like that. But no, they straight up kill him off in this. Now, some people are probably gonna hate this, and some people are gonna be like, it is what it is. But I'm kind of on the fact of like, why would we kill Cletus Cassidy off? I guess it makes sense. I guess from the standpoint, it makes sense why you would kill him off because it's like, what else is there to tell for his story? Because, anyways, I guarantee if he goes back to jail, they're gonna put him on death's row again, and they're going to give him the death penalty, and they're probably just gonna kill him like that, anyways, because they're like, well, we didn't do, but we're gonna do before. Let's do the death penalty again and kill him. So maybe that's why they did it and stuff like that. As for Carnage, if he's going to come back, I don't think he is. So, yeah, now, in the meantime, they actually go to the police chief who was involved a little bit in this fight because he's trying to fight off Shriek, but well, it's kind of trying to fight off Carnage a bit too. But we see that the police chief, he kind of is knocked out, but then he wakes up and he has blue dilated eyes. Now, if you guys didn't know, the police chief's name is named after a comic book character who is the host for the symbiote Toxin, which, if you know the comics, Toxin essentially is the offspring of Carnage. So, I'm guessing that's a sign of knowing, well, guess what? This is how Toxin is created, and he's probably in Venom 3 going to be the main big bad. Now, we know that throughout the movie, the police chief was never high on Brock, and nor does he like Eddie Brock. So I'm guessing maybe they're gonna take the storyline where, I guess kind of in a sadistic type of way, you're gonna have the police chief with Toxin try to, I guess you can say, take out Eddie Brock, Venom and stuff like that, where the Toxin symbiote will be like, guess what? I know who Eddie Brock truly is. He has this somebody like me named Venom, and he's been doing this whole stuff. I learned all this information from my dad, Carnage, who was Cletus Cassidy, and stuff like that. You remember that? So I'm guessing Toxin is going to be the third antagonist in the third movie whenever they do Venom 3, because that's definitely going to be, I guess you can say that's definitely probably going to happen. Now, Carnage says his goodbyes to Dan and Ann because he has to get away because mostly the people are going to be looking for him. So him and Venom, they go on a deserted island far away from San Francisco because, well, where else they have to go? They're in San Francisco, they're going to get arrested more than likely. So, yeah. And then this is when we get into the post-credit scene, which is the post-credit scene that everybody and their mom, when you see this movie, is talking about. So in the post-credit scene, you have essentially Venom and Eddie kind of just chilling, and Venom's essentially telling Eddie, like, yeah, I actually have a lot of knowledge and a lot of information over vast universes and stuff like that. If I showed you right now, it would blow your mind and you probably couldn't take it. And Eddie is like, well, can't you show me a little bit of it? And Venom's like, okay, fine, I can show you a little bit of this. And all of a sudden, the room starts to shake and shift. We get some like little, I guess you can say, what do they call this? Not sparkles. Like, I guess as a TV, if it's about like glitching and stuff like that, which I didn't see it clear enough, but when I heard other reviewers, it said the glitchiness in the post-credit scene looked a lot like the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film type of glitchiness there. All of a sudden, the glitching stops. The room looks a lot better now, and you look far on the TV, and you see J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons, from the MCU version of J. Jonah Jameson. And lo and behold, this whole post-credit scene, as he's looking at the TV, it's J. Jonah Jameson saying, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And Venom sees this, he's like, interesting in a way. And then he licks the screen, and there's this guy that comes to the bathroom, and he's like, what are you doing in my room, dude? And that's kind of it. And yeah, that's the post-credit scene there. So this essentially confirms now that Venom, this version of Venom is in the MCU officially. He is now in the MCU, which a lot of people have been clamoring from. Now, there's one of two. Now, obviously, if you're asking, how did he get into the MCU? Now, obviously, we know, again, spoilers if you have not seen Loki. Again, you should have seen this stuff. If you're going to be a guy that's watched the MCU, well, too bad. Watch the MCU, then too bad. I'm going to spoil it. Now, you know, in Loki, the one about at the final episode where Sylvie killed the he who remains, that version of King the Conqueror, doing that created essentially the multiverse to go haywire. That's what you're watching in freaking What If go crazy. All these different multiverse crazy stuff happening. That was just one of the stuff. So obviously the whole split up of the alternate reality timelines and stuff, or realities, you know, different multiverses of different characters. And then, you know, this whole thing. Now, again, like I said, how did he still get in there? Now, I'm guessing this is how Venom gets into the MCU is after, you know, Doctor Strange, you saw from the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, dude, the spell. And when Spider-Man's blabbing around saying, but I want this person to know my identity still, and I want this person to know my identity. And Doctor Strange just stopped saying, you know, in the trailer, Doctor Strange has stopped tampering the spell. And when the moment the spell's done, that's how, you know, Venom gets into the MCU now because of Spider-Man tampering with the spell, saying all this other stuff, which also, because we know from the trailer that guess what? All these past villains we've seen in the last two Spider-Man franchise movies, you know, are going to be in this film and stuff like that. So now this explains how Spider-Man, or how Venom, this version of Venom gets into the MCU. Now, does this mean, are we going to see Tom Hardy's Venom in Spider-Man No Way Home? There's a definite chance we could see that. And if we get freaking Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Tom Spider-Man, and then Venom fighting side by side with them, that would be fucking insane. I don't believe this Venom's going to join the Sinister Six. Now, I did hear apparently there's going to be a Spider-Man versus Venom movie coming, which would be dope, and stuff like that. So it's going to be very interesting. Now, obviously, the one thing people are going to say is, well, Venom's going to eventually have to go back to his main universe when this is all said and done. And Doctor Strange, by the time when Doctor Strange 2 ends, he's going to fix this whole multiverse issue. And that's true. Now, obviously, people are like, well, how are they going to do? Are they going to lead into Black Spider-Man storyline and stuff like that? I have a prediction what I'm going to make. I have a feeling that one or two things can happen. If Spider-Man and Tom Hardy's Venom interact in No Way Home, I definitely could see it to where, and heck, if this also happens in the Spider-Man versus Venom film, whenever that is happening, you know, that would be cool too. But I have a theory. What if before Tom Hardy's Venom goes back to his main you know, world, his main Earth, his universe, what if by chance Venom essentially accidentally gets cut and a piece of the Venom symbiote stays in the MCU and it latches onto Spider-Man's costume? Then if you do maybe Spider-Man 4 in the MCU, an MCU Spider-Man 4 movie, that's when you can have black suit Spider-Man. And then that's, guess what? You can then create the MCU's version on their interpretation on how they want to have Venom. You have a Sony-verse Venom, and then you can have an MCU version of Venom in the MCU thing where maybe you can have that dark, craving Venom that people have been, you know, saying and stuff like that they want. Obviously, they're going to have to work the details with Sony and tell Sony, hey, is it cool if we can do this and stuff like that? And you just have a different universe Venom. This Venom, a new Venom is for the MCU universe, which also means that eventually when Spider-Man breaks away from the black suit and gets rid of the symbiote and everything, that means the MCU is going to have its own version of Eddie Brock. Now, the question is, would Tom Hardy be the MCU version of Eddie Brock as well? I wouldn't envision that. If you ask me, maybe they have Tom Hardy just be his own Eddie Brock in the Sonyverse films for Venom. and they get in Marvel and Sony find a new actor to play the MCU version of Eddie Brock, where you can have that animosity between Peter and Eddie, and then you can have again another Venom versus Spider-Man movie where it actually has legit Venom going out trying to kill Spider-Man for legit blood and get back at him for rejecting him, and Eddie Brock trying to get revenge because he hates Peter so much. Obviously, too, with this whole standpoint, like I said, Carnage is dead in the Sonyverse. That doesn't mean Cletus Cassidy and Carnage are dead in the MCU. The MCU can definitely do a Spider-Man and Venom movie versus Carnage, and they can do that. So listen, guys, the possibilities are endless. Just because they killed Cletus Cassidy and I guess Carnage in the Sonyverse doesn't mean that maybe down the road we can get a different iteration of Venom, the MCU version of Venom. We can get an MCU version of Cletus Cassidy and Carnage in this film. Although, if they're going to do that also in the MCU, where they get a Cletus Cassidy version of the MCU, I would honestly just give the position back to Woody Harrelson, because it's like, even though he's the Sony version and it wouldn't make no sense, I just say, you know what? Just have the Woody Harrelson come back and be in the MCU officially as Cletus Cassidy, and maybe you can have a Spider-Man versus Carnage film in the Spider-Man and Venom versus Carnage film in the MCU. Because we know, like I said in this film, Carnage is stronger than Venom, and it took Spider-Man and Venom working together to take down Carnage. So you could definitely get that. That's why, and I just have a sneaking suspicion. I feel like Marvel and Sony should do this right before Venom goes back to his universe. Just have it to where a part of the Venom symbiote stays in the MCU. It kind of chips off, I guess, Venom's skin, and that little piece of the symbiote latches onto one of, I guess, Spider-Man's costume, and the next Spider-Man movie can have it where we see black suit MCU Spider-Man, and we get that storyline, and that whole thing there and everything, which would be cool, to say the least. I think they should do that. Honestly, if it was me, I would do that. I think that's where then you can create the MCU version of Venom alongside of having a Sony-verse Venom and sort of thing. I think, hey, grand scheme of things, you make more for Marvel and Sony, you make 10 times more dough if you go that direction too. So that's going to be very, very freaking interesting. Now, as for who would be, the next user of the Venom symbiote, if they do it the MCU way, they could have an MCU Eddie Brock. Or the more thing that they've been doing most recently as of late is the whole standpoint. The fact that we see now that, Harry is like the new guy to be the new inheritor of the symbiote. And like I know in the TV show, he inherited like the Venom symbiote, and hell, in the video game, in Marvel Spider-Man 2, the video game, we know that Harry, in order to stay alive, he essentially has the symbiote in the film. In the game, he's gonna have the same. He's gonna be wearing the symbiote. He's gonna be Venom in the game. So they definitely could do that, where they introduce Harry Osborn into the series, into the MCU, and they have him be the and maybe they have it to where, guess what? They have it to where Peter and him kind of have a beef, and in that film, he gets a whole in film after Spider-Man rejects these symbiote after realizing that it's not good. Then that's how you give it to Harry, and then he has the animosity for Peter, how he doesn't like him, and then combined with the Venom, you could do that. But again, they could take it. I feel like they could take it anyway. I would love it if they do what I said. A part of Tom Hardy's Venom, a little Venom, one part of the symbiote breaks off of his skin. It attaches to Spider-Man, and in the fourth film, or at the end of maybe the third film, if Tom Hardy's Venom appears in it, you're gonna have the post-credit scene of Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man wakes up, and all of a sudden he looks through his closet to get his Spider-Man costume to do more Spider-Man stuff. And all of a sudden, his red-black costume is just fully black, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And then that's when you can have it be like, "Okay, Spider-Man 4, you know, he has a black suit and stuff like that. And you start off with him already having the black suit in Spider-Man 4, in the MCU version of Spider-Man 4. So that could be interesting. But again, I like this movie. Again, and like I said, it's not great, nor is it bad. I think it's just in the middle. But definitely for the future of the MCU and the future of the Sonyverse Venom films, it's gonna be a treat to see. This definitely makes Spider-Man No Way Home a lot more hype, because now the possibility is, shit, Tom Hardy's Venom could appear in fucking Spider-Man No Way Home now. And stuff like that. And hopefully, if that happens, hopefully my prediction of how, a piece of the symbiote attaches to Peter, the MCU version of Peter, comes true. Because that would be honestly dope. And that hypes you up to even see Spider-Man 4 whenever that comes out. Just imagine that happens. A part of the symbiote breaks off of Tom Hardy's Venom, attaches to Peter's suit, and then the post-credit scene at the end, after like all the credits are over and stuff like that, or maybe the mid-credit scene, is Peter looking through his closet, and all of a sudden he sees his regular Spider-Man suit just fully black. And he's like, I thought I didn't make a fully black suit, No, it's not the black suit with the gold lines we saw from the merchandise and stuff like that. It's fully straight up black suit with a white lining and stuff like that, which I think would be dope, to say the least, and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm gonna get it for again. If you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this movie review for Venom 2. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are your hype levels for Venom, and I guess the potential short time he's going to be in the MCU? Because eventually when Doctor Strange fixes all this stuff, he's going to go back to his own universe. And then too, Venom still has some things that he has to clean up in his universe. Like I said, the chance of the fact that we're going to get a live action alliteration of Toxin is crazy too. Now I don't know too much about Toxin. All I know is he's just the offspring of Carnage. That's all I know. And the police chief is apparently going to be Toxin. So, but other than that, guys, I'm going to get over. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. I never check out this video. Until then, guys, I'll see you guys on the next movie review video, which probably won't be till, in the grand scheme of things, sometime in November, when I go check out Eternals and give that whole review. Even though it's not a Marvel MCU film that I kind of am interested to see, I'm just going to go see to see what ties it has to the MCU and the greater Marvel cosmic universe and stuff like that. And then lo and behold, when December comes around, best believe I'm going to be here day one reviewing Spider-Man No Way Home. Hell, I might see it the night before it officially comes out, because that's how hype I'm going to be able to see this damn movie. Spider-Man No Way Home can't come fast enough. But other than that, I'm going to get over, guys. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next movie review video. So till then, guys, I'll see you guys later. Peace.